morning. This video this morning is going to be about how to, well, not so much how to spot counterfeit or fake batteries, but basically that almost every single battery that's on Amazon or eBay is not so much counterfeit, but that they lie, and that some might even be fake. I have in front of me a bunch of devices. This is just a scale. It's not a fake scale. It's perfectly fine scale. Let me define what we're talking about. Lying. Lying is when you state that your battery is 6 amp hours and it is something else. Copies are batteries that look or will work with a device but are not marked with that device's logo or name. These are copies. They're not counterfeit and they're not lying. Well, they're lying in some ways, but not in others. Counterfeit is a battery that says that it's made by a company and goes to great length to make it look like they're made by that company, but they're not. And then there's fake. Now, I don't really have anything here that I can show you that's actually fake, because in many cases you have to destructively open up the actual battery cells to tell if they're fake or not. So let's start with, we'll go with counterfeit because I've only got one of those. This is a counterfeit DeWalt battery, at least as far as I can tell. This is a copy of a DeWalt battery. I do not have an actual legit DeWalt battery here to compare, but after doing some research, I'm about 90% sure that this is a counterfeit battery. So let's look at this real quick and why it's supposedly counterfeit, and this won't be very in-depth, but supposedly some of the ways you can tell besides opening it, and if I have a picture I will put it in here in some place. If it's a real battery, it should have a serial number here. There is no serial number here. And some people have stated that real batteries have copper contacts and fake ones have chrome or silver contacts. This has copper. There's also some nuances about how this is etched on here, whether it's done with a laser and how it looks. And then on DeWalt's website, it specifically calls out these screws. If the screws have a flat top and are black, then it's a counterfeit battery. This is kind of a lame identification. Also, if you open this up, this battery has absolutely no circuitry in it. Nothing. It's just bare wires going to the contacts. So I'm about 90% certain that this is a counterfeit battery. I didn't buy it, and before anyone makes snotty comments, when I bought these batteries, I knew quite well that they were going to not be what they said they were. That's not a problem for me. But if you are buying batteries and you expect that if they say that they're 6 amp hours, that they're 6 amp hours, they're not. And I'll get into that later. So, yeah, this is probably counterfeit. This is a copy. That's just... This one, and I think I have a picture of this, works in a DeWalt. It says it's 6 amp hours. I've crossed it out because I've actually tested this and confirmed by opening that it has 2 rows. That's another thing here. I'll do this. there are two types of batteries that, well, there's actually like 3 or 4 now. But the most common ones are that a battery will have one row of 5 batteries, and so therefore it will be thinner. These batteries have 2 rows, so you have 10 batteries in them. The batteries are in a parallel serial configuration. They are two batteries in parallel, and then they're connected in series. And what that does is it doubles the amp hours, and then putting them in series increases the voltage. This will not be a complete tutorial about how that works. That's for other videos on YouTube or something at a later time. This battery actually can be used as a USB power bank, and you can plug stuff into it. It's actually a pretty good deal as long as you understand that it is not 6 amp hours. And I'm going to say this multiple times throughout the video. Non-OEM batteries that claim to be more than 6 amp hours and are this thick, or actually more than 4 amp hours and are this thick, are probably lying. If they're more than 3, they might be lying. And I'll get into that a little bit later. This one seems to have an actual circuit board in it, whether or not it's just to control this or it does cell balancing or whatever. I haven't really gone through and researched that very well, other than I can tell you that this battery actually works. This battery is a Makita compatible battery, and this is all stuff I've taken out of this battery. I took everything out and I transferred it to this shell, and it had this for a circuit board. You couldn't plug it into a Makita charger. You had to plug in an AC adapter, and it actually seems to have cell balancing and all that, but I wanted it to work in a Makita or a Makita clone charger. And also it stated it was 5,000 milliamp hours, and of course it's lying. It was 3,000. Once again, that doesn't bother me. I know they're lying. These are clone batteries, and they claim they are 6 amp hours or 6,000 milliamp hours. These are lying. They're not counterfeit, they're not fakes, they're just lying. I have replaced the circuit boards in them with ones that supposedly do cell balancing, because the ones that were in them didn't. The problem with these batteries is that they don't seem to work well with legit Makita battery chargers. They will charge just fine in a clone charger, but Makita may or may not charge them. So this is the Snowden battery, and I purchased a shell, and that was the only way I could get the Snowden battery in here, and it required a lot of modifications, and it just barely fit, but it works fine and it charges fine. So these are a couple of hand warmers, and I will probably be doing a video about them at some other point. They are lying. They are not lying about being hand warmers. They absolutely are hand warmers. What they're lying about is that they claim to be 6,000 milliamp hour hand warmers and that they will run for 10 hours. This is a lie. Open them up, and got a picture in here, and pulled out the batteries. This is one of the actual batteries that was in it, and you can see that it says it's 3,000 milliamp hours, but it tests to be about 1,300 milliamp hours. It's supposed to be 1,500, but I couldn't really get that out of it. So these can be used as a power bank, but the problem with them is that with the original batteries you get about 880 milliamp hours out of them. It's supposed to be 3,000 milliamp hours, but I couldn't get that much out of it. And the batteries themselves were totaled less than 2,800 milliamp hours when fully charged, because this thing does not 100% charge the batteries. So let's get back to these batteries, and one of the ways you can tell if batteries are, these are blinding the camera. If batteries are, I don't know, well I can't tell you that they're fake for certain because you have to open them up. What will happen is that they will put a battery out that might be something like this, or a 13500 battery shoved inside of one of these with a boost circuit, or they will be factory rejects, or they may have sand in the bottom of them, or they may have paper stuffed in them, and the only way to tell is to open them up. Most of the batteries you see here came out of basically legit devices, things that were what they said they were. Some of these were taken out of old laptops. This one, I'm not 100% sure where I got it from. It claims to be 1,200, well, it claims to be 1,200 milliamp. Helps if you get in there, 1,200 milliamp hours. I have not tested this. If I had, it'd probably be marked. It's very light. And if you weigh it, you see it's 37 grams. And just to show you, this is a legit 3,350 milliamp hour battery that I've tested, and it's 45 grams. Once again, 37 grams, or yeah, 36, 37. This one came out of a laptop. I'm not sure what its amp hour rating is. It claims to be made by LG. It weighs 42 grams, so it's probably close to whatever it should be. This is the 28 there at the end is supposedly what its rating is, 2,800 milliamps. Claims to be Samsung. 46 grams, very likely that's what it is. This is the one that came out of the hand warmer, or one of the ones. 42 grams, but with that milliamp hours, I would hazard that either this is a factory reject, or there's something in it that makes it way heavier than it is. This battery came out of an e-bike battery pack that failed. Some of the batteries in it were still good, some were not. I did test these and they were 2,200 milliamps. They were originally rated at 2,500, and considering they're 3 or 4 years old, that's actually pretty good. 46 grams. This was a battery, there was a couple of batteries I ordered a while back. unsure what this is supposed to be rated at, and it doesn't look like I've actually tested it. 48 grams, probably whatever it was originally, that's what it is. These are supposedly Panasonic's. These are protected cells. They have a little circuit board on the base that keeps them from over discharging. And as far as I can tell, these are, I actually haven't tested these. 49 grams. These are LED flashlight batteries. They claim to be 2300 milliamps. That would be impossible. I've since learned after getting it, because if this is 3000 milliamps, 3300, and it's that big, then this cannot possibly be 2300. It's more likely that it's around 1000 to 1200. I may test these, and I don't know. It's not that important, but they're very light, and I have nothing to compare them to, but 14 grams, that's pitiful. So there are resources on the internet for identifying legit batteries. I think if I can, I'll put some in the description, but you can just Google how to identify fake 18650s. The rule of thumb, though, is if it's on eBay or Amazon, it's almost certainly fake, or at least lying. And in some cases, there are certain manufacturers who won't sell to the general public. I think possibly LG is one of them. That doesn't mean someone else wouldn't buy some and then resell them. Anyways, thanks for watching.